and welcome to another episode from Dirt Driven Adventures. So actually, we changed our name. So we were Adventures Behind Bars, but we decided to rebrand ourselves for the new year. And we actually have merchandise that's coming, and we're gonna start a new series. And this series is mostly for my benefit, but I think it'll help a lot of you. I am fortunate enough that I have a husband who does all of our maintenance, all of our bike work. I mean, if we need a mechanic, he is the man, actually, for anything. He can fix anything and everything under the sun. If there's a YouTube about it, he can watch it and figure out how to do it. I am not that fortunate. And one of my New Year's resolutions this year was to learn how to work on my own bike, or at least like to have some understanding of how to work on that. And I'm sure a lot of you are in that same boat, but you might not have a handy dandy husband like mine. So I am gonna bring you along on our adventure to learn all these new bike maintenance skills and bike work skills. And tonight, he is gonna be putting in the Tubliss system in our son's new bike. So I'm gonna let him walk you through that and walk me through it too, so that we can learn together. So let me know in the comments if you do your own bike work, if you want to learn about your own bike work, or if you have a handy dandy mechanic that you send all of your stuff to get done there. All right, I'll take you along. So tell us what you're doing.
Prepping the wheels to start with Tubliss. He's already dismounted them, so.
And what's the benefits of Tubliss? Like, why did somebody want Tubliss?
Low air pressure for traction. And if you bust your tire in a race, your tire doesn't come off the rim, so you can keep racing, which he's done quite a few times and won a few races with flat tires. If you're riding rough, hard terrain like hard enduro, you can run 2 or 3 pounds and the bike will climb to eclipse itself without spinning. Videos out there to put it on. None of them are probably exactly the same as I do it, because as you do something like this as much as I do, you figure easier, better ways to do it. Some of it's very similar, but I do my taping a little different than most websites show, and I never get a busted inner tube, so obviously it's working. For all the specific part of doing Tubliss, there's plenty of sites, like, and your package even tells you about how to start it and drilling the hole, which that's what we're doing now, which if you have a KTM, it's always better, because KTM is set up for everything. But they recommend...
Just to interject, can you tell that he really likes KTMs?
KTM and Husqvarna, and gas, of course. But Tubliss recommends the holes to be 4 spokes apart. KTM does that. So you already have 2 holes, you just have to increase one hole size to 7/16. Whereas a lot of bikes, it's on the opposite side for balance. Well, we're racing dirt bikes, we don't care about balance. And so then you have to re-drill a new hole on the other side. But with KTM products, that's one step that's a little easier. We still have to drill it, which is aggravating, but not undoable by no means. So just more about the okay, blind dog, go somewhere. We have a blind dog, little one sometimes. Alright, so you pick whichever hole, doesn't matter. You gotta drill it. No, after you get that rock, I'll let you hold a little bit so I can put a little bit of pressure. You got little edges, just deburr them. Now I have a tool from the plumbing world that does it very nicely, but you just don't want nothing that competes the tube. This side don't really matter, but I'll take it. Get a little bit of it out if there's a bunch. Just make the bolt sort of bolt nicer, but this in the back. Normally, if you're adding this to all bike, this looks like crap. You've got to clean it because you want the tape to stick good. Now I'll take some cleaner and just run over it. But this is a brand new bike. It's got 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So it's very nice. And then I'm gonna drill this one while we're doing it. Luckily Noah's done half the work already for me, which is nice.
So you're putting the tape by the heater?
Yeah, we're going, that's because it's cold.
Oh.
If it's summertime, you don't need to be, but my shop is whatever the temperature outside is, so. And I had to put a fancy heating system in it because I spent all my money on motorcycles.
Poor Moto.
And once again, flying dog runs into me again.
He ran into the camera too.
And the only reason I do this, and even sometime I might do it, is the better the tape sticks, the better it stays where it's supposed to. And you do this cold, it don't.
Okay, so show the tape. What does the tape look like? And what's the difference in those two?
The front is a narrow wheel, so the tape is narrow. And so.
So can you do one without the other? Can you do like a front wheel or a back wheel only?
Oh yeah, well these are 2 for kids. One's a front, one's a rear, so. They're ordered individually, or if you order off Amazon, you can get a 2-pack, which is a little cheaper, but I normally would order it through Parts Unlimited, which is Boost Racing, or
because we're sponsored.
We're sponsored by.
Not for this video, but we're just sponsored. If they want to sponsor a video, that would be amazing.
But you can get it from most any supply company or local motorcycle shop. Probably has the Tubliss systems. If they actively do perk bike stuff, they will. And this comes, you can buy it separate, because sometimes when you do a tire change, you may need to replace this. Yeah. Because if it starts getting hard and rolling up, it can actually cut the tube. So you check it every couple tire changes. It is, you have to take the Tubliss system off, retape it, put it back on. So I used to keep multiple rolls of this just hanging around just in case. But one comes when you buy the kit. So.
Okay, go ahead.
So you got to tape the wheel. Now, in the book, depending on which video you watch or the instructions, it'll tell you different each time. But all of them say start near their holes. Now, the first thought is go ahead and start right here. That's fine and dandy. Now, I start farther back because you have to keep changing angles, and I like to have not the crisscross right over the holes because you have to cut the holes out. And there will be more reason of that when I get done. So, but first you just go down the middle. So you just pick a spot. And now when you do this, very important, you pull to roll it off, but you don't want to leave it stretched because it makes it thinner. So you relax the pressure and just start sticking it. Nothing fancy to it. You're just trying to not drop it. And this is so much easier with a new wheel. I've had to take a wire brush, actually brush scaling off wheels, just to make us even think about sticking. So the fact that it's a new wheel is always nice. So do it when you buy them. Buy a new bike from your local dealer.
Gosh, Moto.
Now we're to where we started. So then when you cross over that, then you want to pick a side, doesn't matter, and you want to go to the edge, which I'll turn here. You want to go to the edge, but you don't want to be up here because the tire will make this stuff roll up. And if it rolls up, it can have a tendency to cut the tube. So you just go up, which on a rear tire, you got more room. Front tire, this gets a little more trickier because the wheel's narrow in the center. So we're back to where we started. Overlap across it, just like that. Then you switch sides, which usually I turn around just Going this way just because I get tired of it. We're back to our original starting point. Here, just a second, there we go. Now what I do differently is they say when you get tired to cut the tape. Well, you still got all this tape and that's not enough to do another wheel. So I continue on, except I start centering it from there, right in the center. It don't go all the way around the wheel, but it'll give me a nice center piece right across the holes that I have for the valve stem and the lock and all that stuff. And it's just more protection down here. That'd be why I don't bust Tubliss much. I don't know. But that's just the way I do it. You can go by the way they direct. You can do it by somebody that does it different. But this is the method I use, and it seems to not fail. So, and I've been doing them for about 10 years, so. And so there we are. Let's see, you want good. Yep. Turn to use your own hand. That part's trash. And then, if you have a handy dandy helper, like I do, he starts using his thumbs, and he'll show you that, but you want this to stick down as good as you can.
Just going in between each of the spokes and just pushing down the whole time, getting all the bubbles out and everything.
After you've got all that, then you've got to take and cut your holes out. That's why you always carry a knife at all times. That and that. Those two tools will get you by a lot of money. This gets tricky here. This is put together, but it's not put together necessarily in the right spot. Chances are you have to move it. Just take off all our connectors with valve stem, this here, bolt lock nut. Nut off. She's usually 14 millimeter. I've had a few different ones on early editions, but I think all of them are 14 now. Huh? What's up? There's our big hole. There's our little hole. Let's just see if we're close. No. There's the hole, there's that, which is sort of expected. So you gotta take it out to move it, which is perfectly fine, because I lube it up with some Armor All just to make it move a little slicker. Then you'll come back, and when you're sitting there in this wheel on here to do it, you want to try to get it as centered, because if you vary a little bit, when you put together, that stem will be crooked every time. So even if, like if I pulled it out here and I set it up, when I put it in, that's going to change it because we're not centered on the whip. That's probably the hardest little part right there. So then you got to come in here, put that where that looks good, that looks good. And then the other trick is getting this in and it not moving, which it did, but that's fine. I'll move it before I go farther. So move it. Positioning. And this is just eyeballing, so you just have to do it. And then you just drop it in once you do. And then you can verify it a little more after you got it in. But it's easier to move before. That one looks a little off. So as it happens. Alright, so we're close. We're going with close. Alright. I don't shine my cars, but I will shine my Tubliss. This can be a little tricky. So obviously you're trying to start 2 valve stems, and obviously until they get in, they're going in a little crooked. So you got to find it, started. Looks like it's going to be a little crooked. So ready to go. Maybe I had it right the first time. Big surprise. Okay, so as you can see, they both look pretty straight right there. That's what you're shooting for. Now the tricky part is not busting your tube. Once the tube's in, it don't hardly pop. Getting it in without busting it, you got to be really cautious. Because I don't know how they do it, but they make it look like you can just put the whole thing on without doing this at the manufacturer. But I always say they're using a little bit bigger one because it's never worked that easy. Only any I've ever done. So, and cautiously put over. Yep.
Multitasker.
This thing, I feel like it ain't gonna go on because it's just that tight, but that is. It's easier to get them in before it gets too far over. So we'll position it. Make sure the tube is not catching there. That's super important. The last 2 bites are probably your worst. Because your tube is actually right on the daggum wheel at this point. So they call for pitching it together across. This thing is very stiff. It don't do a lot of pinching. So Very gingerly.
Oh. Sorry.
That's it.
No, I meant I dropped the whole camera.
And the parts. Okay. Now, at that point, you hope you didn't bust the tire. You can put air in it, pump it up if you like. At that point, I usually don't. I just usually, I did. Alright, so now, put my little things on just to keep it from going anywhere. Not that it really can go anywhere. Because it's so tight, there ain't nowhere for it to. Tire, and very, very important to make sure you put it on in the right rotation, if it has a rotation.
How do you know that?
Because I do one about every other one where I'm talking to somebody, like a camera, and I put it on the wrong way. Also, another thing I'm noticing on here, this tire was only run 2 hours, but you can already see a little bit of dirt right here. That dirt, as small as it is, can make the tubliss not want to stay on the low pressure side pumped up. So we are going to clean that before I put it on, but right now I'm just double checking. It seems like this Dunlop does not have a rotation.
Okay, so there's the arrow that he's talking about.
And so that just basically means which way the tire rotates. If it has a direction, that's the recommended. I have run them backwards many times intentionally, but it's supposed to, on the front, typically it gives you better braking because the front tire's going nothing but braking. That's the reason they have a rotation. On rears, sometimes they'll have 2 different arrows just to spice it up. One is the direction for soft, like if it's muddy, and then the other way will be intermediate, where the dirt's perfect, you can turn it in the other direction. Now, the average person don't flip the tire back and forth, but you can pick what you're getting ready to race or ride and get it close. Now, this one does not have a direction. Noah, would you like the sharp edges? 2 hours, they're already rolling. He does like to ride on the throttle, so tire that lasts me hours upon hours might last him a half the time, maybe even a third, because he starts tearing lugs off of him. So clean this. Normally this is Noah's job, but he was taping the other wheel. Normally I'll have him clean this up while I'm getting the other stuff ready. Just don't want no grit, dirt, anything that can prevent it to get a good seat. But this is a new tire, so it's good. But that being said, if you put tubliss on a used tire, which they do not recommend, but it is highly doable, you want to really check your tire bead. If there's any tears in the bead, like this is just dismount, there's a little spot in that will hurt. But if you have a tire tear in it, it will not seal. It will leak down no matter how hard you try. So, which way is the sharp edge? Like this. So, plate goes here, the wheels will go out the back. Sharp edge in place. Do this. Rim lock typically down, makes it easier to get on. And while holding pressure, if you're lucky, it'll start sliding in as you do this. Most of the videos don't show that all. Most videos don't show using this. Now this is a common tool for doing tire changes, but it's really nice and makes this job a little easier too. So, got it on the back. Must be catching on water. There we go.
There it was caught on the.
So now. Never too much glue. So, this little device holds the tire in place. And then you can start literally going around for a ways without even the tire touching. And then when it gets tight, then you begin popping it on. Just like so. Hold that hole. Alright. Then you do another side. On the rear, this is super easy. Front, this is a little harder.
Why is it harder on the front?
Because it's an narrow wheel. Everything about the Tubliss will make you cuss on a front wheel. Because every part of the aspect is this narrow. I don't always recommend Tubliss in the front. If you're a hard racer, it's nice. For general riding, I normally don't run Tubliss in hers anymore. And her tire doesn't move around anymore because she can run low enough air pressure without it. But when you're racing, I have raced many races with a busted front tire. It sucks, but with Tubliss you can't. But it can save a race, which it has a couple times, keep you in the points chase. It's a moment of truth. Did we beat it too? Probably will have enough to do this. We'll know if we'll need more soap. So after doing them, to get a good seat, you want to put some all the way around. Get it nice. Oh wait, it ain't gonna hurt. Have it. Alright, afterwards, we rake them in, splashing it around in there, getting everything nice and lubricated. Then you put the valve steels back in. Now, people on different websites say different things about tightening this nut. I think on Tubliss site does the same as what I do. They put the 100 to 120 pounds of air in this one, then tighten that. That's the way I do it. You'll see bubbles flying everywhere. Definitely.
Slide that in there.
No, it illuminate, then we'll put it in back in. process before. Try to get this thing centered. Match the first hole. But in the mud, which is what you can be starting the season out with, because we start in February. Probably let's see if we can be 2 for 2. Get a good start. Alright, the moment of truth. Does it come up? No loud sounds. That's a good sound.
Oh my gosh, are you jealous? It's like she thinks there's a way.
Alright. Do I have another one of those metal? Look in those.
Well, I didn't
plastic
look at this
cases.
one really.
Well, it should. Well, it could be something.